Okay, so today we're going to cover Chapter 8, Section 2, and we're going to learn how to solve the triangle using law of cosines. So on the next slide, we actually have the formulas that we're going to use. The first three are the standard form. You're going to use these when you're given side, angle, side. So you're going to be given two sides and an angle. Now, what's special about side, angle, side is the angle that's given is going to be the included angle. And what I mean by that, let's say our given information is going to be angle A is 25, side B is 10, and side C is, we'll say 20. Just making up numbers. So if I were to go to label my triangle, again, you can just draw any random triangle and then put the letters A, B, C around it. What's important is where you position the lowercase letter. Lowercase a is across from the capital A or the uppercase A, and then C would be over here, and then B. Notice what they gave me was angle A, side B, and side C. Notice how the two sides that are given form that angle that was given. This is the scenario where angle A is the included angle between sides B and C. Before in 8.1, when we had the scenario of side angle, notice it's two sides and an angle, but what's different here is the angle that's going to be given will not be the included angle. It's actually going to be the angle that's across from one of the sides. So for example, they might give you angle A is 25, but then they're also going to give you the side that's across from that angle, and then the other side could be either B or C. So that's the difference between the two scenarios where it's side angle, which is the ambiguous case, which either gives you 1, 2, or no triangles, and then the scenario of side angle side, where the angle that's given is the included angle. Then the other situation you're going to be given is you're going to be given the lengths of all three sides. So side. When that is given to you, we're going to use the alternate form of the formula, which are these three right here. So if you were looking for angle A first, you use the first one. If you're looking for angle B, the second one, and C, the last one. All these are just a manipulated version of this. All they did from here to here was solve this equation for cosine A. They just moved the B squared over the C squared and then divided. So they've already rearranged it for you. Last year when I taught this, I made my students rearrange it. I didn't give them the alternate form ahead of time. So this, I think, makes it a little bit easier if you start out by using the alternate form when we're solving a side triangle. So let's look at our first example. It's actually a side given triangle. Important here is that you follow the steps that I tell you. If you don't solve the triangle in the order I tell you, you're going to get a triangle, but it's going to be wrong. It's going to have the wrong numbers. So when it's a side given information where they give you all three sides, step number one, it was on the previous slide as well, step number one is to find the largest angle first. And the way that I'm going to know which angle is the largest is by looking at the numbers of the sides. Remember, the largest angle is always across from the longest side. So out of these three numbers, 8, 19, and 14, I can see that 19 is the biggest number, so that tells me angle B is going to be the biggest angle. Remember on the prior slide, it told you that we use the alternate form when you're given side. So I'm going to be using cosine B is equal to a squared plus c squared minus b squared divided by 2 times a times c. I'm now going to substitute in for all of my variables. I don't know angle B, that's what I'm solving for, which is the largest angle. I'm going to replace A with 8, C with 14, and B with 19. And then in the denominator, 2 times 8 times 14. Now, you can do this continuous on your calculator. Again, my advice to you is practice with your calculator. Some calculators are going to make you put parentheses around the numerator numbers and then around the denominator numbers. So practice. If you don't want to do it continuous on your calculator, you can go ahead, solve the numerator, solve the denominator, and then divide. So here, 8 squared is 64. 14 squared is 196. And then 19 squared is 361. Then for the denominator, I'm going to multiply 2 times 8 times 14, and that gives me 224. I'm going to go ahead and add my numerator. 64 plus 196 minus 361 gives me negative 101. I now have to divide this. So negative 101 divided by 224, and this gives me negative 0.45089285571, and that's what cosine B equals. But remember, when we're looking for an angle measure, this is where we do the sine -1, the inverse. So I'm going to be on my calculator, cosine -1, and put in this decimal. Now, before, whenever we were looking for angle measures and we were trying to find out the reference angle from quadrant 1, remember we entered it as positive? But in this case, I don't want to do that. I want to enter the number just like it's given. So I hit either the shift key or the second key, then the cosine button. Then I'm gonna use my button that says answer so I don't have to re-input that number. And then this is going to give me the measure of angle B is equal to 116.800, so rounded to the hundreds place, 116.80. So step number 1, always for side, side, side triangle, find the biggest angle first. Step number 2, we are going to find another angle, and it doesn't matter which. So we're going to find our next angle, but we're going to use the law of sines. So for the second step, it doesn't matter if I end up finding angle A or angle C, but I'm going to use law of sines. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find angle A. So I'm going to set up my proportion. A over the sine of A equals B over the sine of B. I'm going to fill in my numbers. A is 8. I do not know angle A yet. Side B is 19. And angle B I just calculated. And just like in last night's homework, we are going to multiply on the diagonals. So sine A times 19 is equal to 8 times sine 116.80. I'm going to divide both sides by 19. And sine A, and again I'm going to enter this as sine -1, is equal to, go ahead and do this on my calculator, so sine 116.80 times 8 divide by 19, and this gives me 0.3758256078. Hit enter, and you get angle A to be 22.075, rounded to the hundredths place, 22.08. Step 3, I am going to use the Triangle Sum Theorem. And what that Triangle Sum Theorem says is that the three angles of a triangle add up to be 180. So all I need to do is take 180, subtract the two angles I just found, and that will give me the remaining third angle, which in this case is going to be angle C. So 180 minus angle A minus angle B equals angle C, which is 41.12. I now have completed the triangle using law of cosines in step 1. So for the law of cosines examples, the side, side angle, side, step 1 will be law of cosines, step 2 will be law of sines, and step 3 will be the triangle sum. Now, technically for step 3, I could also do law of sine again, but it's more work. It's easier for me to just subtract from 180. So again, make sure you have 6 pieces of information when you're finished. In this case, it was side, side. So they gave me all the sides. This one was 8 feet, 19 feet, 14 feet, and then C was 41.12, A was 22.08, and B was the 116.80. Remember that when you're doing this, that if you were to do this on an SAT, and remember SATs are multiple choice, remember when you go to select your choice, make sure that they have the correct things equaling each other. So this would be the right answer. But let's say choice B has angle A equaling 41.12 and angle B equaling 22.08, and then angle C, the 116. See how the answers got jumbled up? So it's going to be important that you label your work, okay? Especially on an SAT, make sure for my test that you also label your work neatly. That would be wrong. Everybody good? All right, let's try example 2. Example 2 is a side angle side example. Now, so for this one, I'm going to use the standard form. My first step is going to be to find the missing side, and I've only got one, and it's going to be the side that is going to be opposite the angle that's given. So we're finding the missing side of the angle that's given. And again, if you also notice, you already have 2 of the sides, so by default, it's side A. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to look at my standard form to figure out which one has the missing side letter I'm looking for, which was A. So the formula I'm going to use is the first one, A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of A. I'm going to replace what I know. I'm solving for A squared. B is 9, C is 12, 2 times 9 times 12 times the cosine of 25. Now, this is where order of operations comes into play. Realize that this part here, after the subtraction sign, all of these things are being multiplied. Do not try to square 9, square 12, and then subtract 2. You will get it wrong. So make sure that when you're doing these practice problems that you're understanding how your calculator wants you to enter it. I'm going to go ahead and do it step by step. But again, your calculator will probably do it just by you entering all these numbers. But again, play with your calculator. Everyone's calculators are different. So 9 squared is going to be 81. 12 squared is 144. 2 times 9 times 12 is 216. And then that's being multiplied to the cosine of 25. So I'm going to do that next. Once I find 216 times the cosine of 25, that's going to give me 195.762,482. I can also add 81 and 144, and that gives me 225. Now I can subtract 225 minus the 195, and that will give me 29.237518. I do not want to find a squared, I want a, so now I need to square root both sides, and a is equal to, rounded to the hundreds place, so second square root, second answer, 5.407, so I'm going to round to the hundreds place, 5.41, and these are meters. So when you're given side, angle, side, you're going to find the missing side first. Second step, and this is important, step number 2, we're using law of sines again, but what's important is that you find the smaller of the 2 remaining angles. So we need to find the smaller of the 2 remaining angles. And again, the way that I can tell which one is smaller, B or C, is I look at the side lengths. The smaller side here is B, so this tells me I'm going to be finding angle B next. And I'm using law of sines again in my step 2. So I'm going to be setting up A over sine A, because I have both of those pieces of information, and then B over the sine of B, because angle B is smaller than angle C. I'm going to cross multiply, or first fill in, sorry. I'm going to fill in my numbers. 5.41 is side A. Angle A was given to me, it's 25. Side B was given to me, it's 9. But I don't know angle B. I'm going to cross multiply. Sine B times 5.41 is equal to sine of 25 times 9. Divide by the 5.41, and I get sine B is equal to 0.7030618,033. Again, I'm looking for an angle measure, so I'm going to put that decimal. I'm going to do the shift or the second key, and so it opens up sine -1. Put in the decimal, hit enter, and I get angle B is equal to 44.673, so 0.67. Last step, same as before. Step number 3, we're going to use the triangle Sum Theorem. So I'm going to take 180, subtract out, I could do the angle I just found, and then as well as the one that was given. And then what remains is going to be angle C. So 180 minus 44.67 minus 25, and my final answer for C is 110.33 degrees. So example 3, notice, now this is a typo, this should be a lowercase a here. So this is another side, side, side. Remember, step number 1, find the largest angle first. So my biggest number here is the 12, so I'm going to be finding angle C first. I'm using the alternate form, so I'm going to be doing cosine of C is equal to a squared plus b squared minus c squared divided by 2 times a times b. I'm going to fill in my numbers. A is 6, b is 8, c is 12. And then 2 times 6 times 8. And again, you can do it continuous in your calculator, or you can figure out what all of this is. So cosine C, 36 plus 64 minus 144. And then 2 times 6 times 8 is 96. Once I subtract and add that top, the top becomes negative 44. I'm going to divide it by the 96. So negative 44 divided by 96 gives me cosine C is equal to negative 0.458, and then it's 3 repeating. So I'm going to again open up cosine negative 1. Again, I'm entering it as the negative. I don't change anything as far as this goes. So second cosine second answer, and I get angle C is equal to 117.279, so 0.28. It's my first angle. Next, I'm going to find another angle, and again, it doesn't matter which. I'm going to use law of sines now. So law of sines for step 2, and I'm going to find angle B. Doesn't matter on this type of triangle. And then I'm going to use C over the sine of C. So let's fill in 8 over sine of B, which I don't know, C, which is 12, over the sine of 117.28. Going to multiply diagonally, sine B times 12, and then this diagonal, sine 117.28 times 8, divide that by 12, sine of B is equal to 0.5925181849. Again, I'm looking for an angle measure, so sine negative 1 with this decimal, and angle B is equal to 36.335, so 36.34 degrees for angle B. And now to find the remaining angle, which will be angle A, I'm going to use the triangle sum. So I use Triangle Sum Theorem for step 3. And again, I would do 180 minus 36.34 minus the first angle I found, which was 117.28. So 180 minus 36.34 minus 117.28, giving me angle A to be 26.4 26.38 degrees. So now I found angle A, 26.38, angle B, 36.34, angle C I found first, 117.28. Little a was given to me, 6 centimeters. Little b was given to me, 8 centimeters, and little c, 12 centimeters. So this is another example of side, side, side. So again, this time, an angle and 2 sides, so side, angle, side. Notice each one of the letters is represented. So this is when I go to take the test, I know that this isn't an SSA situation because I have one of each. If it were the SSA, the ambiguous, then one of these sides would have been an A. So let's go ahead, and since I have angle A, that tells me I'm solving for angle A. So the formula I'm using is A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of A. I'm going to fill in my numbers. So B squared, or B, is 16. C is 12 times 2 times 12. 16 times 12 times the cosine of 80. Again, remember, these are all being multiplied. So make sure you're following order of operations here. So A squared is equal to 256 plus 144. And then 2 times 16 times 12 is 384 times the cosine of 80. I can go ahead and add the first two, but I got to multiply 384 times the cosine of 80, and that's going to give me 66.68090022. I can now subtract that, 400 minus that, and I get 333.3190998. I don't want A squared, I want A, so I need to square root both sides. And A is equal to 18.257, so 18.26, and these are meters. So step number 1 is to find the last remaining side. Step 2, remember, we want to find the smaller angle, so I'm going to be finding angle C first. So step 2, find smaller of the remaining angles. So I'm going to be doing C over sine C equals A over sine A. C is equal to 12. I don't know angle C. A is equal to 18.26. I just found that. And angle A was given to me. Remember, step 2 is always going to use law of sines. Let me cross multiply. Sine C times 18.26 is equal to 12 times the sine of 80. I'm going to divide both sides by 18.26. Sine of C is going to equal 0.647190191. Again, I'm going to do inverse here to get angle C. So second sine, second answer, and I get angle C is equal to 40.33. And now step 3, We're going to use the triangle sum, and we're going to do 180. We can subtract that one we just found right above, and then we're going to go back and get the original one that was given to us. So 180 minus 40.33 minus 80, and this gives me my remaining angle to be 59.67 degrees. So again, angle A was given, 80. Angle B I calculated, and that's going to be the 69.67 or 59.67. Angle C was 40.33. Little a I found at the beginning, 18.26 meters. B was given to me, and C was given to me. And I've completed the triangle. The last thing is Heron's area formula. So Heron's area formula is an area formula for a triangle when you're given the three sides. Generally, in middle school, you were probably taught base times height divide by 2, or 1/2 base height. But if we don't know the height of the triangle and we're given three sides, this is a formula we can use. You're going to be given A, B, and C. You need to calculate S first by adding the three sides, dividing by 2, and then we'll plug it into the formula. So let's try one. So I need to calculate S first. We're going to do A plus B plus C, divide by 2. My A is 43. My B is 53, my C is 72. I'm going to add those three numbers. When I add them, I get 168. I'm going to divide that by 2, and my S value is 84. Now I'm going to write out the formula. Now that capital A on the previous slide, that is not angle A, that is the area equals the side times side minus A, side minus B, S minus C, all under the radical. So area is equal to 84. 84 minus 43. 84 minus 53. 84 minus 72. All under the square root. Now, you can do this continuous on your calculator. Again, play with it. Know how your calculator works. I'm going to do it step by step. 84 minus 43 is 41. 84 minus 53 is 31. 84 minus 72 is 12. And now I'm going to multiply these four numbers, which gives me 1281168. I need to square root it. 1,131.89 meters squared is the area of that triangle. So that is the area of that triangle given three sides. Homework is web assigned. Have a great weekend.